Український кризовий медіа-центр продовжує свою роботу. Зараз
Ukrainian Crisis Media Center continues at work, and we have Mr. Ihor Abramyuk, Director and a member of Association of Local Communities. And the current topic is the Association of Local Communities, the first step towards one voice of the new Ukrainian self-government. We believe that today we have finalized the first stage in activities of our association. At that first stage, we tried to enroll all the consolidated communities into our association, to explain the mission of our association, the idea underlying, and the objective of our association. We have successfully passed this initial stage. Today I will describe this association. I think for the last time I will describe it in so much detail, and later on I will just refer to today's briefing. The idea of creating an association of consolidated communities arose from the natural need of the consolidated communities to have a separate venue for uniting their efforts. The needs of consolidated communities quite often are different from the old, so to say, so-called old local self-governments, because consolidated communities are novices in this system, and they are undergoing the reforming. So the association comprises consolidated communities. It is subordinated to them. We were established upon initiative of 3 consolidated communities. Новоукраїнська, Пирятинська, and one more who had founded the local Consolidated Communities Association. Then on December 1st, we had published the official statement about association, and on December 5th, our association was registered in state register. On December 15, 2016, we started the enrollment to association. In general, we have 62 consolidated communities, which represent 25% from general number of communities. 2 more consolidated communities, and even 1 more just recently joined this joined our association. As far as I know, besides that 65 consolidated communities which already joined our association, there are around 30 others where the process of entering our association is going on. We have just 4 regions of Ukraine, Dnipropetrovsk, Sumy, Luhansk, and Mykolaiv, which are not represented in our association, although there are some consolidated communities from those regions which are now thinking about participation. So I think that as far as I know, we act on the in the 20 regions of Ukraine. So as for our articles of association, only the consolidated local communities could be members of our association. And moreover, in those consolidated communities, the local elections should be held as of the moment of joining. Then there is an interesting moment, an interesting aspect. No political groups are allowed in our associations. When we form the position of our association, we put aside all our political differences and develop our joint position, which is non-political, non-partisan. Currently, we discuss another important principles to be reflected in our articles of association. We plan to ensure rotation of the leadership of the chairman and board members in order to allow all the association members to be part of its board and leadership. Then we plan to establish special requirements to the leadership of the association. Then, as of this moment, each region has only one representative in the association board, irrespectively of the number of consolidated communities from this region which are members to the association. One of the most disputable provision of our articles of association, this is the following one. The association is founded as the local association. That is, it has local status, but we plan to act on the entire territory of Ukraine. That is to have national coverage. That's why we expressed initiatives that we should be created as a national association, because as of now there are no other full-fledged initiatives about establishing national self-governance association. Because the National Association should unite more than 50 members of local self-governments, which is almost impossible. At the local level, we have village and town councils. Village and town councils of non-consolidated and consolidated communities are equal in their status and form the basic level of local government. Now, in result of reform, almost 17% of local governments are eliminated because of the consolidation of communities.
I don't know whether you can say what's 50% of local authorities of basic level, because the numbers change. United territorial communities are formed The village councils, which are part of united communities, are liquidated, and that is why today at the basic level it is impossible to create a new Ukrainian association. But talking about united communities, which are not separate level of self-government, is impossible. So understanding that, we created the association according to the law, and we use the opportunity provided by the law. The association, irrespective of its status, can operate all over the territory of Ukraine. Important advantages. According to the law on association of the local authorities, each local authority can be part only of one Ukrainian association, but there's no such limitation on local authorities. So there's a myth that to enter the association, the body of local self-governance has to leave some other association. It could be the member of several associations, including the Association of United Territorial Communities. We clearly define principal basics of forming the association should be created by the local authorities. Any other way of creating local authorities is not productive. It hinders the interests of the state and local self-governance. Any administrative subordination of association will lead to the fact that there will be separation between united communities, because some will want to be independent, others will not. If the independence of village authority was not supported by any resources or powers, but united communities can really be autonomous or independent. And not everyone supports the initiatives which have administrative roots. Association should be voluntary. Any forced association will not give any long-term effect. Association is not created for a program. That's an institution which should last long, because local self-governance is the institution which requires sustainability and sustainable strong institutions.
Про політику членських внесків я вже говорив, але особливо для об'єднаних.
We believe that association cannot live at the expense of membership fees. Association cannot ensure the activity of the directorate at the expense of membership fees. The membership fees should be such that would support some reserve which is formed in the association. So the general membership meeting approved the decision according to which the scale of membership fees looks like that. The communities up to 5,000 population pay 1,000 hryvnia a year, up to 10,000, 2,000, up to 15,3, up to 24, up to above 25. And for united territorial communities, these contributions will not be too high. The task of the association declared in the address sent to all territorial communities is to active interaction with the local executive communities, supporting the interests of the members of association and providing services to them, partnership and uniting efforts of all the stakeholders in the interests of the reforms, and forming the united voice of Ukrainian local self-government, which is being formed now in united territorial communities. There's information about the leadership of association. It's also now a web page in the Facebook. We inform on the development of events via our Facebook page. The revision commission has 3 members. The executive direction is formed of the executive director, director on development, and the center of services and few other persons. That's what we are just forming now. We have only the executive director and the director on development. The future structure of the Center of Services, you will see it on the presentation later, which will be added at the national level. We will concentrate our attention on legislation for reforms, on prospective plans for the unification of communities, and the state fund of regional development. At the regional level, we are planning to be very active, and the law on association of local authorities gives us all the good chances for that. According to the law, local authorities, regional or district administration can no right to approve any decision without consulting the bodies of the local self-governance were created in order to be very active in the regions. And we formed the board, which includes 1 representative from each region, and will be acting via the executive direction of association and via our members of the board. As to single voice of local self-governance, the strong local self-governance of European countries is trying to get united to be unified in dialogue with the state. This unity is important. Everyone may demand something, but in strong European democracies, local self-governance of different levels, they agree between themselves, and then united they communicate with the state. Here in Ukraine, we don't have this single voice of local self-governance. A good example is the National Congress of Local Self-Governance, but if you try to find the information about their activity, you will not find it. On the website of Ukrainian Association, there's no page dedicated to the issues of the activity of the Congress. That is why I can say that we don't have the united local self-governance, and we declared our intention to move towards the new unity. We have made first steps. We signed the memorandums on cooperation with 3 regional associations of United Territorial Communities, Zaporizhzhia, Bukovina, and Odessa. And we declared that we start moving towards multilateral agreement between the Association of Local Authorities of United Territorial Communities in the form of the Congress. This will be the Congress of United Territorial Communities. But when the reform goes down to sub-regional level, we will expand this agreement at regional self-governance. Now we are in the beginning of this way, but we believe that we need to do it, because without a united single voice, local self-governance will never have a strong position in the dialogue with the state. Also, I would like to inform you, and again, completing the first stage of our creation, we started communication with the government, and on the 5th of April we had a working meeting of the Prime Minister of Ukraine with the board of the Association of United Territorial Communities. It was easy for us to understand each other because there's natural partnership between the government that implements the reforms and United Territorial Communities, which are the product of reforms. And we agreed on interaction. The Prime Minister stated about the support of creation of association of the local authority bodies. We say that our communication with the government, I hope, will be constructive and permanent, and we have one task. At the national and local level, the task looks different. The Association of United Territorial Communities can efficiently help introduce the reform at the regional and local level. That's what we are planning to do, because that's in our interest, in the interest of territorial communities. And here our interest and the interests of the government coincide. That's all I wanted to share with you. We are absolutely open for communication. We are open for cooperation. We are public. We develop the position of association collectively, and we are ready for cooperation with all parties who work in the interest of the reform and United Territorial Communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Igor. You mentioned about one voice of this local self-government. And now the question whether there is any issues with the legislation, with the electional legislation. Somewhere the local elections are held on the majority constituency principle or in line with the party principle. So whether the single voice policy is possible having such different election legislation. The one voice policy is absolutely possible, but of course the election legislation which results in politicization, excessive politicization of the basic level of local self-governments is bad. We managed to reach understanding and to depoliticize our work, but there are tough discussions, there are tough political positions of some local leaders, and but basic level of local self-government should be elected based on legislation which is not politically biased. Any further questions? Andrei Mihal, the Liberalism Institute. You had shown the organizational structure. You mentioned the challenge, that these are new challenges. Whether you plan some establishing some analytical centers, or maybe you will use the developments or of other analytical centers, or you will establish new analytical centers? Thank you for your question. First of all, we plan to create the service center for communities. Also, we plan to establish the excellence centers among those communities which appear to be successful in something in their local communities. Then we have signed the memorandum with the State Academy of Public Administration under the President of Ukraine, and we will cooperate with them in developing the capacity of our association. One of the objectives of our association is to accumulate a database about local communities, legislation, and experience.